So when I went and got Cori from Texas, nobody knew. I kept it to myself. I kept everything to myself. I didn't ever let nobody know that Cori was in Oklahoma. I kept him where I could keep him. Like, literally, I was trying my hardest to keep my baby. Like, I didn't want nobody to harm my baby. I didn't want nobody to know where my baby was. I wanted my baby to, live his life. And he had a chance. So I ended up taking him to my mother-in-law's house. I would go check on him every day, make sure he ate and talk to him, give him hugs. So we end up going to like my uncle's birthday party, and everybody had saw him. That was the first time that everybody had saw him. It brings so much emotion because it's like we didn't know. So on that day right there, he saw everybody, gave everybody hugs or whatever. So I end up going to Colton's, and me, my brother, my sister, and Cori, and my sister-in-law, we all went to Colton's. And we sat there for a minute and we was just talking. And one of the ladies, worked there. I asked them, were they hiring? And she was like, yeah. And so she gave me an application. Cori filled it out. We turned it back in. They told them, call back up here or whatever. They'll give them an interview. So, we did all of that. And the whole time, Cori, he was just chilling. Well, the next day, Cori had told, that night when I dropped Cori off, Cori told me that he was going to come to church. And Cori came to church. And when he came and he sat on like the second row. And when Cori's in church, Cori be playing. Cori be doing all types of stuff. That day right there, Cori sat there and he listened and he paid attention. And I was just so happy to see that, and I just was like thanking God. I thought, everything was gonna be all right. Oh well. Right when we got out of church, Cori had called my second oldest, and they had talked and whatever. And then Cori they get linked up together. Cori goes back to my mother-in-law's house. I know nothing. I don't know what happened, whatever. I just know that he left and went to my mother-in-law's house. Well, I had picked up Cori on a Tuesday, and I took him to Colton's to get his little interview or whatever, and they told him, hey, you're gonna come back on this day, blah 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 blah, whatever. So once we done with that, I take Cori, I get him his cell phone fixed. Like, I'm just trying everything to make sure that I can be able to get a hold of him. Like, I'm trying. And so when I took him from there, I came home and I started cooking. And I noticed something weird on Cori. And so I was like, I noticed he had a gun. And I said, what are you doing with that gun? How did you get that gun? Like, why do you, I'm like, so I'm just breaking down crying again. But I couldn't let it, my emotions, I couldn't do it no more. I said, Cori, I'm sorry. I said, I can't do this. I can't. I've tried my hardest. I said, but you're not going to sit up here and play in my face. So, y'all, I left. I took Cori to my mom's. Cori started acting out in the car, so I just started slapping the mess out of him. Like, we was about to fight. When I got to my mom's house, he just was going off and doing all of this, y'all. That moment right there, I was like, I can't. So I let him. He had a gun, and ever since then, like, he had the gun. Nobody could get it away from him. He continued to hide it, pack it, just try to do everything with it, and I let them have it. Because I didn't want nothing to do with it. So I would take him to work, pick him up, take him to work, pick him up, make sure like he was safe. I did everything I could possibly do. Everything I could possibly do. While continue to pray. Laying on the couch just about every day. Because me going to go pick my son up, I didn't get no sleep. And I had to turn around and go to work. And I was so tired. And I ended up getting fired. Cause I'm like, can I please just get my son situated? And they're like, they didn't care. They fired me. So here I am without a job. My son has a job. I just wanted to make sure he was straight. And then, like I say, nobody, but I kept on. And one day he literally, I kept hearing about this gun. And so I talked to him. I said, hey, Cori, I said, man, I know you want this gun. I said, but nobody don't want that gun around them. I said, can you put the gun up somewhere and just leave it? I said, because if not, you're going to be homeless. He was like, I ain't going to be homeless. I'll go live with my daddy and blah, 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 and start going off. And I was just like, well, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to let you know. I'm like, hey, my brother, he's a felon. You know, he can't be around guns like that. I'm like, so I'm just trying to help you. And so I'm like, you know, every time that it was a tough conversation, I had those. I talked to my child. And so I want to say that was a Saturday, so on Sunday, you know, they had, my brother and his girl got into it, so my other son and Cori, they all got put out. So they trying to figure out their living situations. Well, my mother-in-law said they can live with her. Cori was already living with her. Well, that night, Cori called somebody. He ended up somebody was supposed to be picking him up. Nobody knew, and we was just trying to figure out, how are you going with somebody, and you know, you're telling us that people don't like you and people gonna kill you, so how are you comfortable getting in the car with anybody? Well, this night particularly, we was over my mother-in-law's house, and a car pulls up, and he's getting ready to leave. And so my mother-in-law goes outside, and she walks up to the car, and she says, who are y'all? And the driver says, I'm Alan Hill. And the person on the passenger side, his name was Kendall. I don't know his last name right now, but anyways, Kendall. Long story short, Cori went with them. Probably about an hour later, he called and said that could we come get him? He's in Wagner. He was with these people, blah, blah, blah. They got caught stealing, all of this stuff. So we go get him. That night right there, he went to go stay with my mom. And I would take him to work, pick him up. Well, the next night, the same night I picked him up from work, he climbed out of her window and went and kicked it with Alan Hill and the other guy that, what is his name? Terrence, and the white girl or whatever. Oh, so they did all of that. I guess he posted a picture or something on Facebook, Snapchat. I don't know. Well, my mom, she texted me and was like, hey, your son, he snuck out of my house. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning, blah, blah, blah. This, so whatever. Come back. And he was like, he'll be okay, whatever. So they bring him to my house the next day. The next day, he stayed here with me the whole day. And, I just laid on the couch. He back there doing whatever. It's just so emotional. But he was chilling. He stayed here the whole day till my mom was getting ready to be at home. So my brother and them end up coming over here. They end up seeing them. We was talking to Cori, trying to speak life into Cori. My mom ended up calling me. She was like, hey, your son don't listen. I'm like, what's going on? What's the problem? So I said, come on, Cori, let's go. We go to my mom's house. I was like, we got to have another talk. So trying to talk to him again. And so we sit him down and I tell him, Cori, well, my mama asked him what about this picture on Facebook or Instagram. He tried to act like he was like he didn't know. And so I'm like, Cori, I said, listen, baby. I can't tell you about guns anymore. I understand that you want a gun. I understand all of that. I said, but you're going to have to sit down. The way that you're out here with the guns, I said, no, you don't need to be doing that. Put the guns up. I said, because if not, you're going to end up dead or in jail. You need to sit down 2 nights. Because if not, you're going to end up dead or in jail. I did not. That was not something that I was like, y'all, I didn't try to curse my son. I didn't try to do any of this. This was something that God had literally had to. I don't speak without God. I literally had to tell my son that. And my son said, I don't care. I'm leaving. I don't got to be here. All of this. And I'm just like, I told my mom, I said, I thank you. I love you. I said, but there's nothing else I can do. I did everything I could possibly do, And he sat over there and he said, I ain't finna die for none of y'all. So, long story short, I left, I prayed, I cried, came home, made a little Facebook post. But before I left my mom's, I gave her a hug, told her I love her. Cori had walked out the door. I was like, I love you. And that was it. And I came home. And like I said, I cried and I did all of that. And I was just on Facebook. I was on Facebook probably till about midnight. And me and my niece was texting. And y'all, I had end up going to sleep. But while I was asleep, God was talking to me. And God had just told me, like, it was so crazy. He said that was the last conversation you just had with your son. Prepare to bury him. I said, God, how am I bury him? I don't have no money. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, y'all, it was crazy. But that was nothing but God. And I can tell you this story a million times. God. And the next morning I woke up, or the morning when I woke up, they were speaking about another little boy. Then they end up finding another body. Y'all, I did my investigation. I got to calling people. That was the last people with my son. They lied to me. Well, he lied to me, told me that he dropped my son off somewhere. So really just had me thinking that my son was still alive the whole time my son was gone. God had already told me, but there was nobody that confirmed it with me. Like, there was no police, there was no hospitals, there was no knock on the door, there was no phone calls, there was nothing. And so the next morning on Friday, September the 8th, I woke up. It was 9 o'clock. I woke up to my missed call from my son. Went back to sleep. 9:45, I woke up. I had 2 missed calls, and it was the Muskogee police investigation. But I didn't know until I called the number back. When I called the number back, that's what the recording was. And y'all, when I tell you, talking about somebody's, I'm talking about everything left me. Everything left me. That day right there. But that was probably one of the hardest things, to have to go down there to the police station and they tell me that my son is gone. And that's it for right now.